What is up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Aisha. I do videos based on photography and lifestyle. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Today's video is a little bit different because today we're actually going to talk about church photography. Yes, I do many things and church photography is one of them, and I'm very passionate about it. So in today's video, I'm going to give you 7 tips on how to capture church photos. Tip number 1, make sure that you understand your exposure triangle. When you are able to actually understand that, you're actually able to master light. And if you can master light, that means you can master low light and things that happen within a low light setting. There are so many things going on and so many variables when you're doing pictures at your church. There's all kinds of lights going around, especially during praise and worship, right? So you want to make sure that you understand how to bob and weave, I would say, when it comes to different lighting circumstances in different rooms within your church, or any church for that matter. One of the key things that you need in order to understand or take some of the best well-balanced and properly exposed images is going to be an f-stop lower than a 4.5 or a 5.6. Understanding that you need to have a lens that is going to get you down to at least a 2.8 f-stop means that you will understand how much that makes a difference when you're capturing images in low light settings. An f-stop of a 1.8, of course, is everybody's dream, and if we can get all the way down to a 1.2, you got it. But if you don't have that and you simply have just a kit lens, that's okay as well. The point of having a lens that goes all the way down to a 2.8 or lower f-stop is to make sure that your images come out properly exposed and lighting is well balanced. Without well-balanced images, your images will produce noise, grain. They will produce uneven lines and an uneven balance as a whole when you look at that image blown up on the screen. It may look okay in the back of your camera right now, but when you blow it up on the screen, it's going to look a little odd, and we don't want that. We want pictures that are going to be crisp, presentable, and perfect to be used, because these pictures, the point of us taking these images are so that they can be circulated around for everybody to see. One thing that is a rule of thumb for me is that it's better that your image is underexposed rather than overexposed, because you can't bring back an overexposed image and make it look properly well balanced. So if you're not going to get it right, at least be underexposed. For my next tip, I would say to make sure that you are capturing emotion and worship moments. What exactly does that mean? There are so many examples of giving praise during service. That could be from lifted hands, raised hands, praying hands, someone looking at their Bible, someone on both knees at the front of the sanctuary. And also that could be connections between people, holding hands, praying together in prayer circles, as well as hugging and other very intimate moments that happen during service. You want to make sure you're capturing a lot of these key moments: joy, laughter, and praise. When I am taking pictures in church, I am not simply just sitting there in everybody's face. One thing that I want people to see is themselves without being posed, without feeling like they had to slap a smile on their face because the camera was pointing at them. The thing about capturing key moments like this is you want to tap into the style of documentary more than the style of being somebody who is looking for that smile, that flash at me at the camera. You want to make sure you are not just up in anybody's face doing any old thing, which brings me to my next tip. Tip number 3 is going to be unobtrusive and to be respectful. You want to be respectful to everybody you come in contact with. We know it is Sunday or whatever day of the week it may be. And, emotions can be high. You don't know how somebody's week went, how somebody's day went. Somebody could have just gotten the greatest news and somebody could have just got some of the worst news they ever received. But we want to make sure we are being respectful and we're not being too pushy for them to get in front of our camera. While we are photographers and we want to make sure we take some of the best photos, some of the best photos happen when people don't see it coming, when people don't know that they're about to happen. So you want to make sure that you are just paying attention, literally read the room. And I know you guys have heard that before, but read the room. I want you to take in being a fly on the wall and just looking at the entire room and everything that's happening around you. There's so many moments during when I am taking pictures at service or during an event at my church where I am sitting still and just holding my camera and I'm just reading the room. And then there's moments where I have my camera up, there's many things happening, I'm walking around. Then there's moments where I sit and I actually take in a moment myself, which brings me to my next tip. This one may not be a tip for everybody, but for me, I'm a photographer, but I also love the Lord, right? So I like to sit and take a moment to be grateful and be humble and understand the words that are coming from my pastor or my bishop's mouth. Don't be afraid to take a beat during service or any event that may be happening at your church if you feel led by the Holy Spirit to do so. While we are serving and we are doing it in excellence and we are doing all these things and making sure we're getting some of the best photos that our church can share throughout the community, we also are still people, right? So we want to make sure we are taking the moment to sit down and be grateful, be in his presence, be in the moment. And that's okay to do while you're serving for your church. It's literally okay to do. So don't ever feel awkward like when you're taking pictures and then all of a sudden the Holy Spirit overwhelms you and you just try to like brush it off. Let that happen. Let that happen because you're elevating in a way that God wants you to elevate in the first place. So that is just another tip for you guys. Next tip is going to be use composition to tell a story. If you are a photographer outside of church and you do this for more than just your church, you understand what I'm saying immediately when I say composition. If you don't, the composition is primarily made up of 3 different components. But what you want to do is you want to take some of them and use them in your photos to tell a beautiful artistic story, right? So what is this? How can we do this? Well, all churches have beautiful leading lines. The structure of a church is beautiful. It's breathtaking. Use that to your advantage. Go ahead and make sure you're taking photos that you can see all those lines from the ceiling of your sanctuary all the way down to the row of chairs. Use that to your advantage. You want to make sure you're drawing the person who's looking at the photo's attention to the center of the photo, which will be the focal point. So use your leading lines and also consider your rule of thirds. This is another way to make people focus dead on the center of what's going on in the image. You don't need to do anything really crazy for this, but usually most people 9 times out of 10, they will stand in the center aisle and wait for something fabulous to happen. And that is okay as well. I wouldn't have it any other way. Consider using silhouettes too while you're taking photos during praise and worship or whenever your pastor is speaking. Make sure that you're using the shadows that are in the room. Don't be afraid to get creative. There's so many ways that you can use shadows and foreground in order to create a compelling image for people to see. You want to make sure we're drawing emotion from some of these images, well, all of these images, matter of fact, not just some, all of them. So my next tip is going to be to get a lens that is fast for versatility. I am a prime lens girly, you know it, 50, 35, 24, 85. I love me a good primes all the way down to 100 and then some. I love a good prime lens because the crispness of the image is just incredible to me. But I love me a good zoom as well. But I would say if you're going to have a zoom lens, mostly all of them are heavy, right? Yeah, they're pretty much all heavy. If I had it my way, I would use one lens and one lens only to do the entire sanctuary. But in the future, that might be a video we could put together. The reason that you want to have a fast lens of versatility is because it performs well in low light, which we talked about in the beginning of this video. You want to make sure you can move quickly. It's got to be lightweight. You got to be able to run and get to the next spot without stopping or fumbling over anything. You don't want to keep having to change your lenses. I treat the way I photograph my church the same way I photograph weddings. I'm very much a documentary style photographer, and I very much don't like to just be in people's faces, but I get more and I tell a better story when I take the back seat versus being all the way in somebody's face. So I have a couple of points in my church where I know exactly where to stand to get exactly what I'm looking for. And over time, when you start doing this, or if you already do it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because that means that you have places where you stand in your church as well. Whether it be a big church or a small church, I think that as long as you know your church or your church's building or the layout, you will be good to go. But I do think that a prime lens is going to be your best friend. My next tip is going to be focusing on the details that speak. What does this mean? This means we are focusing on details. Not only are we capturing the people and all the things that are happening around us, that is obviously very important, but we want to focus on things such as open Bibles with hands on them. The band, don't forget the band. Don't forget praise and worship. Don't forget the worship leaders. Don't forget your communications team or the people who are in the tech area of your church that are making all the things happen the way they do. Make sure we're capturing the people behind the scenes as much as we're capturing the people in the main frame, because everybody is a part of this story. And if the more that we capture everybody and we're able to convey this message, the more people get to see it and the more they say, wow, you know, and that is really what it's all about. We really want to make sure everybody is included. This also goes hand in hand with communion. You want to make sure that you're capturing special key moments during communion. And you also want to make sure you're capturing some of the details that may be up during service that day. So just make sure that you're paying attention to all the things that are happening. But we also want to make sure we're capturing all of our serving partners at our churches. We want to make sure that we're capturing the members in their true element and in their true servitude, right? So if your church has a cafe or something like that in the lobby and you want to take some pictures of the girls that are handling the cafe, or the gentlemen, make sure you capture that. Make sure you're capturing what's happening in children's church too. Let's not forget the kids. The kids are back there. We want to make sure that we're capturing some really dope images of them as well, so that children's church has something to put up as well. Another thing that I would recommend is to make sure that if your church has anything, if your church is like my church, we have a lot of events. We do a lot for our community and we do a lot with each other. And if you have a lot of events, you want to make sure that you are covering the events and still capturing more than whatever is the highlights of the event, so to speak, if you get what I'm saying. And my last and final tip, which I don't know what number we're on at this point, but I think this might be a bonus tip. And if it is, congratulations, you've reached a bonus tip. But it's going to be know when and when not to use your flash. There are so many times where I see people popping on a flash just because they think that photography requires a flash at all times. While I do have a very large background in event photography, wedding photography, concert photography, street photography, studio photography, lifestyle photography, photography as a whole, there has always been a golden rule of when and when not to use your flash in all of these circumstances. A flash is a great tool. It is something we definitely need to use. By knowing when and when not to use your flash, it means that you understand one of the most important parts about photography. Not every scene is going to call for you to use your flash. Sometimes a flash can be considered obtrusive, disrespectful, and it's very distracting. It can be distracting to many people that are in the room with you. It can be distracting to people who are just trying to pray. So you want to be a little bit more mindful about when you are popping your flash on and then when your flash is off. Some of the best moments and times to use your flash are going to be during group photos, and it's also going to be during times where you're capturing church events or capturing details around the church. Those are some of the best times to use your flash. Other times when it would be more frowned upon to use your flash would be during prayer, praise, and worship, when we're photographing reflective surfaces. That could be if your church has stained glass or if your church has lots of mirrors and things like that. You want to make sure you're not popping your flash on or off. A lot of sanctuaries nowadays do not have windows that show the outside and give natural light, so we automatically assume we have to put a flash on. That is not the case, and this brings me back to having a good lens that is great in low light, or having a great camera with the capability to photograph or film in the low light circumstance. You want to make sure that you're fully prepared for any circumstance and situation that could come about, and the best way to do that is with these tips that I just gave you, but also making sure that you're shooting more than during church. You want to take your camera outside more than shooting during church services and church events, because that is the best way you're going to learn and understand your camera. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you got something from it, and I hope that these tips help you in capturing your church's best moments so that you have something to share with everybody else. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next one.